다른 생각이 들어도 열심히 참고 나에게 주어진 일에 감사해야지.
조금만 더. 오케이 스톱. 됐어.
Hi. So thank you
Hi,
for
Anne.
joining.
Thank you for
Uh,
having me.
Oh no, that's fine. So my first question is, so in the movie we see that the male heir is worth more, which leads to one of the main characters, so the little girl, not being picked up by the parents nor being paid for. Would you say this is something that happens in reality, or is this pure fiction?
Um, if I say that women are valued exactly same as men, then it would be a lie. I mean, for the story itself, for the girl and for the kidnappers, it is a reality, but that this reality is caused by layers of misunderstandings, so to say. Because the misunderstanding comes from our reality, obviously, because there are still places where women are, value less than men in places. But I wanted to create a situation where everything looks seemingly extreme, a little more extreme, but not really if you look into the story. So if you break down the story, because we don't really know if her parents actually negotiated for her ransom, we don't see it. Well, we hear kidnappers and the girl talked about it, but which is why I intentionally left her parents out of the story, because I didn't want the characters to know what actually is happening on parents' side. But if you think about it, the kidnapper originally wanted to, they planned to kidnap the son, because in their mind, the son is more important. So without knowing what's happening in parents' side, the kidnappers, because it's taking time for the ransom to arrive, they naturally think that, oh, maybe because it's just the girl, that they're not paying soon enough. And for the girl, she must have grown up in a family where her brother was more important. And she naturally probably assumed that she is not worth for the ransom. Her parents wouldn't pay for her. And again, it's what's in her mind. It's not really the reality. But I wanted to use this misunderstanding of the characters to kind of make an exaggerated version of what's happening now.
사람 하나만 맡아주시는 건데.
저희가 세상 떠나신 분들만 모시다 보니까
So during the movie, the sky is very colorful at times, especially in the countryside. Was there a hidden meaning behind this color palette?
Yeah, it was intentional, because usually when you see a movie, you kind of understand the genre and the style that comes with. Because it's crime-related story, you naturally imagine like wet, dark, and kind of unpleasant tone, let's say. But in this film, I wanted to ask the question that is there really an absolute evil and good? So I wanted audience to be confused, basically. I wanted to make it vague in a way. So usually if the story develops, there's a plot, and the tone and manner of the film helps the plot to progress. But I wanted it to be fighting against each other. So in the plot, you see that they are clearly criminals and they are bad people, but somehow their behavior, the way they look, the way they talk, are not that bad. And even the tone, it's kind of happy and uplifted colors, and so you know, back in your head, you constantly think that maybe they're not that evil, you know, they're like ordinary people. So you don't really know if you can judge these people in this way or that way. That's why I kind of made it extreme different tone and manner.
So it's actually, these colors are kind of set as a counter setting to the crimes that they commit because it's so
Yeah,
colorful. And
yeah, the plot that they are doing, because the plot itself, they're bad, but the tone, they're not. So
yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, thanks. So at a certain time, a certain point in the movie, we see one of the main characters die in front of the advertisement of
Mhm.
Dream Travel Agency takes you to the skies. This detail, was it calculated?
Calculate. Yes, I mean, it was planned. I wanted, with that text, I wanted the scene to look empty and meaningless, kind of. I mean, what he's been doing was meaningless, because if it was a real advertisement, I mean, you probably wouldn't have known because it's written in Korean, but it's written, when you're watching the movie, it's written from left to right. If it's actually advertisement on the building, then it should have facing outside, so which means you have to read, you know. But I made it intentionally, like I wrote it in a, so that you can really read, you know, right away, because even a travel agency can say what you want to hear, you know, we take you to the sky, or you can go to sky. So because whatever the guy who just died was telling other people, or the main character, the boy, everything he said should be just text, you know. It's all about behavior that shows people, it's not about what they say. So I wanted to have a text that, you know, kind of mocking what he's been doing. But then the only way that he leaves the story by dying has a bit of a truth, I guess. In earlier his dialogue, I think he said, "Do not covet what's not yours, you know, otherwise you will end up in a terrible situation." And that was the only thing that he kind of proved. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this highly faithful character dying in such a way, because it's kind of sad. I mean, in a stairwell and in front of this sign, it's also a reference to the irony of his faith not being reflected in his
Yeah.
deeds.
Yeah. Clearly, I mean, it's just text. Like, he says something good, very propaganda-like, but yeah, his behavior doesn't really follow what he says. And yeah, I mean, of course, good things. You can anybody can say good things unless, yeah. So it's meaningless.
아니 앵겨? 맡아달라고 한 사람이?
유괴범이 뭔데?
The ending leaves a lot of imagination to the viewer, at least to me. But how, yeah, but how exactly would you like the audience to perceive your work or the ending? Or
I mean, I personally think the ending that the part that important to me was when the little girl was describing the man to the teacher. I mean, I mean, I wanted to give the scene a hint of different point of view of the characters, like kind of a sudden change of the point of view. Because we've been following him, and of course, if you're following a character, then you hope something good to happen to him, especially when he's changing his normal routine. And but what we really need to see is what she has been through. And we saw bits and pieces of what she's doing in the story, but we don't really pay attention to him because we are kind of programmed to watch him as the plot unravel. But I wanted the ending shows him and us realizing that, oh, well, maybe we need to rethink about the whole journey from the point of view of the little girl. She must have been just, having a really tough time surviving, while this grown-up man think about what is right or wrong. So hopefully, we, including him, will judge what happened in the story in a bit differently. That's what I wanted.
So after having watched Voice of Silence, which movie would you recommend us to watch straight after?
Straight after, I think this question was like, okay, that's tough to answer. But because there are so many great films, and I personally was recommended to watch a movie from my friend who watched Voice of Silence, and that was called, what was the title? The Devil All the Time, which is a Netflix movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's an old one, this one, Sympathy of Mr. Vengeance, which is Korean movie. The Devil All the Time is an American movie, I think. Is it British one, actually? And another film is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Yeah, that heartbreaking, not heartbreaking, but heart-twisting movie, I guess. Yeah, because, I watched 3 of them in a different time, but all of them blur the line between evil and good. And most of the characters can be judged differently if you see them in a different point of view. And obviously, you want to root for somebody. If you're watching a movie, you want to root for a good guy or good characters. But these films don't give you that option. They left you in a frustrated, and I believe that's kind of what it is like in reality. We don't. You think you know what's right, but it's just from your point of view. And you can never really judge what's the justice entirely. That's why I think these films were, I'm hoping that people find some similarity or in theme. Yeah.
So my final question, your screenplay already conquered the Venice Biennale. Which recognition are you aiming for next?
This word conquer is quite a bit of a stretch. I was selected, but then I am just a small director who just made a first feature, and I'm only hoping to make a second one. And realizing the second story is just my goal. I can't really aim anything right now, because again, I'm just like barely keeping my head above the water. It's just making film, it needs a lot of luck, I think. I've seen many great screenplays didn't get to be made, and it happens a lot. So I'm just hoping that the miracle that happened for me for the first film would happen again. And I'm hoping. That's the only thing I can do, hoping.
Well, I'm hoping alongside with you. I really hope that your future projects take a head start, and that everything will turn out fine, because I think as a debut, you already really hit the mark. So I think good things are coming your way.
Kind. Well, thank you for watching this movie, and thank you for having this film screened in your. I know it's an amazing film festival, so I'm very grateful. And
거기 누구 있니?